welcome the presence of the representative of Iran to the meeting. I'd like to thank the presidency for having organized this meeting today on a central issue for international peace and security and for non-proliferation. The organization of this holding of this meeting, enables us to apply, as we should, the JCPOA agreement and Resolution 2231. For France, the conditions are not in place for a permanent lifting of the sanctions adopted by the Security Council with regard to Iran before 2015. Since 2019, Iran has chosen to stop implementing its commitments under the JCPOA and has engaged in an escalation of its nuclear program. This escalation, documented by successive reports of the IAEA, has led Iran to exceed one by one all of the limits that were established in the 2015 agreement. Iran has therefore accumulated a stock of enriched uranium 40 times higher than the 300 kilo limit that was contained in the 2015 agreement. More than 450 kilos at over 60%, whereas the 2015 agreement gave an enrichment limit of 3.76%. 40 times higher. Once again, the limit of enrichment has been exceeded over 60%. The 450 kilos, if it reached military enrichment levels, would make it possible to produce 10 nuclear warheads. The IAEA has underscored in its report that Iran is the only state that does not have a nuclear weapon to have enriched to these kinds of levels. These kinds of activities have no credible justification if it were to be part of a civil program. Once again, it's the IAEA saying that as an independent professional body. Iran has also, for several years now, imposed restrictions on the IAEA verification mechanisms, and the agency has indicated that it has now lost continuity of knowledge with regard to huge aspects of the Iranian nuclear program. Since then, France and our E3 colleagues have applied the JCPOA in good faith with regard to all chapters of the agreement, and we have deployed constant efforts to arrive at a diplomatic solution. In January 2023, we activated the dispute mechanism that is contained in the agreement to try to address the non-respect by Iran of its obligations. In 2021 and 2022, we concluded those efforts. We led intensive negotiations then with a view to bringing Iran round to respecting its arrangements. Two viable proposals were put forward by the JCPOA coordinator in 2022, March and April of that year, and each time Iran refused these offers. Since September 2024, France and our E3 partners have clearly signified to Iran our determination to launch the snapback mechanism before the expiry next October of the mechanism, taking into account the non-proliferation regime and our interests. It's clear that the escalation is continuing with the Iranian nuclear program. It's threatening regional stability, international peace and security, and it's also endangering the integrity of the international non-proliferation regime. Under those conditions, the Security Council would not be assuming its responsibilities if we were to approve the permanent lifting of all sanctions, and if we were to not once and for all deal with the Iranian, and if we were to remove the Iranian nuclear issue from the Council's agenda. But we have tried to find alternatives to reintroducing the snapback and sanctions. Last January, France did not participate in or support the strikes against the Iranian nuclear program. We, on the contrary, highlighted the importance of a diplomatic framework, and that is the only way to lead to a durable pause in the Iranian nuclear program. We also noted that we could not reach a negotiated agreement before the end of the summer, and we ourselves, the E3, tabled an offer to temporarily extend 2231 in order to provide time for diplomacy. That was in July. That offer had a couple of reasonable demands attached to it, covering Iran's obligations under its general guarantees agreement that were reasonable and achievable. They were calibrated and could have been technically achieved in the time frame. First of all, resumed effective cooperation and not just formal cooperation with the IAEA on the ground, and access for inspectors to the Iranian nuclear sites, particularly the most sensitive ones, Natanz, Fordam, and Isfahan. Secondly, the production of specific reports under the generalized security guarantees with regard to uranium, highly enriched uranium in Iran, and thirdly, the resumption of direct unconditional talks with the United States. An extension of Resolution 2231 can only be provided if it is accompanied by Iran meeting its obligations under the general guarantees, and if it allows for substantial negotiations to achieve a robust, verifiable agreement with regard to its nuclear program. Since the snapback procedure was launched, we have unrelentingly pursued our efforts to find a negotiated solution within the 30 days before the effective resumption of UN sanctions. Foreign affairs ministers of the E3 have twice met with their Iranian counterpart. The last meeting was the day before yesterday. However, our offer of extension has still not received a satisfactory response. Iran has not taken any actions to resume cooperation with the agency. On the 9th of September in Cairo, there was a meeting between Iran and with Iran with regard to the resumption of cooperation. No timetable was produced, and according to the Iranian foreign minister, the return of inspectors to the most sensitive Iranian sites, such as the ones I mentioned, should be subject to subsequent negotiations with the agency, they said. The IAEA is not able to guarantee the presence of the stock of the 450 kilograms of highly enriched uranium. The last report of the 4th of September, however, qualifies that stock as extremely concerning and stresses the need to verify the situation and resume negotiations with the United States. We don't think that has happened yet. So we have to continue with the snapback procedure, which, unless there is a contrary decision taken by the Council subsequently, on the 28th of September to resume the sanctions regime with regard to Iran as per the 2015 agreement. President, and I will conclude with this, asking the members of the Council to excuse me speaking at such length, but the objections I think raised do merit this. Our commitment for a diplomatic solution remains complete. The E3 ministers who met the day before yesterday, as I was saying, who met with the Foreign Affairs Minister of Iran, told him once again, as clearly as they could, that we have an offer of extension that remains on the table until the end of the 30-day period, and our hand remains outstretched to find a negotiated solution. Thank you.